Welcome to another pre-show, all you patrons.
Yes, indeed. Look at them coming in their sackcloth and ashes, ready for Holy Week, and
Are,
not wearing shoes because they're getting ready for Monday, Thursday.
yeah, yeah, I can't wait.
What
Holy
to
Week
watch
is
these?
here upon us. That was so quick. This was one of the quickest Lents I have ever gone through.
No, it's true. Lent zipped. Lent just went bye
Um,
bye. Lent wasn't hanging around for nothing.
whew, um,
Lent just moved along.
yeah, and then
And now it's Holy Week is coming. The that's going to present us with a bit of a problem. Are we going to do a show on Holy Saturday?
uh, uh, I don't know. I mm, all these
That's a bit.
questions are so difficult.
I know it's a bit. We'll see. Why should I be the only one to have to answer difficult questions? Why don't you share the load?
Share the for some reason. Wow, I'm really a Lord of the Rings fanatic because when you said share the load, I actually pictured Samwise Gamgee
Taking the ring.
taking the rig and then.
Boy, it's funny you say that. I feel like I've been poisoned by Shelob all of a sudden. You know what Shelob's husband was named?
You've said this before, Helob.
That's right. What were their children called?
Oh, I forgot this part. What?
The Loblets.
The
The little
Loblets.
Loblets. Little Loblets. Helob and Shelob.
So.
Oh, what a tangled web we weave. When first we try to eat hobbits. But no, it is something for you to think about because we do have the whole Paschal mystery descending upon us.
Hmm. Well, I feel like I do want to do a show. We've already missed like I don't know 2 or 3 in the past 6 months or so.
Yeah, which we don't like doing. I don't know. Let's see. Holy Saturday. Well, let's see. It's morning your time, but for me it's night, and I'll probably be at this time in a week. I should probably be engaged doing something or other of a Paschal nature.
All right. Well, my schedule's flexible, so I don't know if we could just fit in 2 hours worth of time somewhere. I feel like, I mean, we'll see. We'll see, ladies and gentlemen. But
We'll do our best, and if we can't, then we'll make sure that the Easter Bunny brings you something really special.
what a bloody rabbit's foot.
Yeah. Oh,
I
now
haven't let
was...
that go. I haven't let that go. The lucky rabbit's foot.
Well, in the immortal words of the late Elmo Russ, don't throw rocks at the rabbit or he'll bring rotten eggs home to you. And remember, ladies and gentlemen, that the Easter Bunny is as much a part of our national heritage as Santa Claus or the Tooth Fairy. Don't let this great tradition die. There was a cartoonist called Coulombe, and I'll never forget one of them. You can get it online, I think. I forget the name of the kid he uses. We'll say it was Victor, but that wasn't it. You see this pimply-faced kid with a mound of headless chocolate bunnies, and he's clutching one, and he's obviously about to bite it. And the caption was, Victor, or whatever his name was, lived in Vermont, where he ate only the heads off chocolate bunnies.
That's pretty weird.
And well, it's very random, but for the one day in the year when when bunnies lay eggs, I think it's great.
What was that from? Like Mad Magazine or something? What was that from?
No, Cleveland. Let me see if I can pull this up for you simply and easily. Cleveland. Vermont bunnies. Let's see. Images. Hmm. All right. Yeah, there it is. I don't feel so bad.
Okay.
You may share this or not. I don't know if there's a copyright issue. Cleveland's dead, but uh, eh, eh, eh. Okay, there you go.
That's definitely going to be a copyright issue. I can't. Okay, but it's basically it looks like Far Side to me.
Well, see, he was before the Far Side, but very much the same kind of humor.
Okay, well, just picture Far Side, guys, with a guy sitting at his table, and he looks pretty weird with glasses on, and there's a bunch of bunnies missing heads on his table, and that's
and
it.
and they're chocolate bunnies, and he ate only their heads. He had a mass of them.
It's pretty weird. It's like pretty creepy. But you know what? You're the master of creepy. You're
what? What?
Which is ironic because you're certified non-creepy.
Exactly, by the Archdiocese of LA. And if they don't know what's not creepy, I don't know who does.
I guess maybe that means that you are never unintentionally creepy. It's like your creepiness is always intentional, designed to punish.
That's
You're about to agree with me until that last word.
No, it's intended to elevate, to educate, to elucidate, to illustrate. I don't punish. I'm here to help. I've always been here to help. I mean, look, think back to your childhood. When I would say strange and bizarre things to you, it wasn't done to punish.
Well, what was it done for, Charles?
Well, a laugh for me and to see the look on your face. But that was not punishment. And also to help expand your horizons, to broaden your point of view. I mean, to take the classic example, you never thought of your brother's name being spelt with an L.
No, I hadn't.
No, you see? And since that day, you've not been able to forget it. Well,
you know, we were talking about this before the show, where people saying, "Oh, why is your host so dour all the time? Why is Vinny down in dumps? Oh, he's just waiting to get through things." Well, ladies and gentlemen, you guys be next to this crazy guy. Be next to this guy.
Look, I am here to help you through life. Consider me a sort of guardian angel.
Wow, that's perverse.
I'm here to drive off the Seine and protect you from it.
Drive off the Seine? But
I'm protecting you from boredom and dullness. You know, my late father used to say that there are two kinds of people in the world, the weird and the dull. And he said the wise man keeps a foot in among the dull to maintain his income, and a foot in among the weird to maintain his sanity. Now, you don't need my help in maintaining an income. That's obvious. So what does that leave? Where, in my role as your guardian angel, what can I safeguard except your sanity? And that can only be done in a world gone mad by protecting you from what the world considers sane.
I love how you nod your head after all that. Like, yeah.
Got you there. Showed you. That almost made sense, didn't it? Can't top that.
You got me, Charles.
Yeah, I figured. You have no comeback.
All right.
No, truly, when the going gets weird, the weird turn pro. Hunter S. Thompson knew.
All
I've
right.
always thought that epitomized my entire career. When the going gets weird, the weird turn pro.
Yep, Hunter Thompson.
Poor fellow, it didn't do him much good, but it
I
did
know.
me a lot.
Yeah. All right. Time for the
So,
questions.
yes, indeedio. And these are this is like a veritable Easter basket of questions.
It is. I'm excited. A lot of great questions for the pre-show and especially the full episode. This is, I feel like I don't say this a lot, but this is lining up to be one of our best episodes. I feel like especially for the full episode. So here we go.
All right.
The first question is from Daniel, who says, "I'm a groundskeeper at Antietam National Battlefield, where there's a national cemetery. The Irish Brigade was a famous unit at this battle, and since I am often working in the cemetery and praying for the souls there, it got me wondering how many of the thousands of soldiers buried here were Catholic, and whether it is proper for them to be intermixed amongst non-Catholics. So my question is, what is the Church's current laws about the burial place of Catholics, and what were the Church's laws about that throughout history? I don't want to be a stereotypical person who is, I'm more traditional than tradition, but something about Catholics interspersed amongst all the other bodies with no indication one way or the other disturbs me." It's a good question.
Well, yeah, that is a good question. Obviously, the church had very stringent laws about who got buried with whom. That was why, in the good old days, suicides and witches and people like that could not be buried in consecrated ground, or unbaptized babies, or unbaptized people of any kind. But they always took a somewhat more lenient view with the question of people dead in combat. I mean, when they could, if they could identify the bodies separately, they would. But sometimes you just can't. You know, you've got a mob of dead people, and they got to be planted quick. So they did sometimes, relax the rules when it came to burying the dead. And of course, you got to bear in mind too that religiously mixed armies are a relatively recent development, and of course, a very, very American one, certainly. But it was such a traditionally wartime accepted. The church was so stringent about it that James III, King James III of England, Scotland, and Ireland, who had a lot of Protestant courtiers, even though he was living in Rome in exile, the Jacobite heir, he actually was the one who founded the Protestant cemetery in Rome, where Keats and Shelley and people like that are buried. And he got the permission of the Pope to do it, but there was literally no place he could plant his Protestant courtiers when they died. They had to go someplace. And so that was the origin of the Protestant cemetery in Rome. But as I say, when it came to battlefield deaths, the church was much more lenient because, what are you going to do?
So I feel like there's a lot to unmap in this area because I personally am unlearned when it comes to what being buried in a Catholic designated area means compared to a non-Catholic designated area. Like, is that simply a privilege, or do you get special graces?
Well, there are special graces. Catholic cemeteries are consecrated ground.
Yeah. So
now,
yeah.
our veterans believe that our veterans cemeteries. Well, see, one thing is that the priest can also consecrate a plot. So, in other words, let's say you're buried in a non-Catholic cemetery for whatever reason, as a Catholic. The priest who's doing the burial service for you can actually consecrate the plot you're being planted in, which was, I think, the way it's generally been done in VA cemeteries. Although I don't know for sure. Maybe some of them have been consecrated en masse, but I know that that is certainly an alternative. One of the interesting things is that prior to President Truman in the veterans cemeteries, you would get either a cross or a Star of David, depending on whether you were Christian, Catholic or Protestant, or Jewish. But Truman got rid of that and replaced all the crosses and Stars of David with the non-denominational markers we have now. But what's interesting over here in Europe is that that order did not extend to the World War I and World War II war graves here. And I've gotten to quite a few in Germany and the Netherlands, Belgium, and France. And they still have the crosses and the Stars of David. So.
What was I going to ask? I did a really long walk, actually in November. It was really something. I was going out for a really long, adventurous walk. Tried to go places I've never gone before. Ended up stumbling on a cemetery. In
the
Sierra
Pioneer,
Madre.
The Pioneer Cemetery. I know exactly where that is.
And it was in the month of November, and it was like that was a Saturday, so I was like, wow. This is the month of mercy, or the where
the month of the Holy Souls.
Month of the Holy Souls, but Pope Francis had extended the ability, so it wasn't just on the day of praying for somebody, but the whole.
He extended the month. You always have the octave from November 1st to November 8th, my birthday. You've always got that. But he did extend it through the whole month this year. Yeah.
So last year. I feel like that's a really cool thing. Everyone's always rough on Pope Francis, but we don't.
Well, he does some good things now and then.
We also don't take advantage of the special things he does, and I felt like that was really nice because that allowed me to pray for my dad, go to his cemetery, and in this instance, I actually kind of picked a grave of a person I didn't know. I ended up a young person, who was, I guess, non-denominational Christian, and she, I guess, died of COVID, really tragic. But and it was like the anniversary of her death. But so the interesting thing, what was going to get to, is there were also priests buried in that particular graveyard. Isn't that unusual? Because that's not a Catholic cemetery.
No, well, it's not that unusual simply because it's the Sierra Madre Pioneer Cemetery. And you got to bear in mind that when the place was settled, there wasn't enough money for separate cemeteries, so they just dumped them together.
I see. Okay. But it's not it's not in that instance like a scandal for like a priest.
No, and I'm sure what they did was they consecrated the plot when they planted him.
Yeah. Okay. Because it was there's a lot of weird Masonic stuff going on some of these other plots. It really made me sad.
Well, Sierra Madre is a strange town in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
You wouldn't know, but trust me when I tell you, it's very bizarre.
It was bizarre. So
would you believe that they actually have a community carol sing at Christmas time and a nativity scene in the main square, which is obviously an attack on our separation of church and state? The Constitution of the United States is teetering on a thin edge because of Sierra Madre. And if it collapses completely, it'll be Sierra Madre's fault. So the next time you're in that town, you tell them.
I will. All right. A question from Mason, who says...
Speaking of Masons.
Well, that's true. I have a question for Mr. Coulombe concerning the philosophy of Juan Donoso Cortes, whose work I have been reading recently. Though one of the great counter-revolutionary writers, Donoso Cortes was against Carlism, though he was deeply moved by the piety of his Carlist brother, which was one of the things that caused him to become counter-revolutionary. After the 1848 revolutions, he, however, compared Carlism to the radical liberalism of Louis Kossuth, claiming that both movements were comparable examples of revolutionary ethnic separatism. I was wondering if there is any truth to this claim. why a great Spanish counter-revolutionary might not be a Carlist, and what are Charles's thoughts on both this matter and Juan Donoso Cortes in general?
Well, Donoso Cortes in this area, I compare to Hilary Belloc, another writer of whom I'm very fond and admire a great deal. Belloc was great on English history, but he was terrible on French history, having at least before the French, or during and after the French Revolution. The reason being that he was a cousin of Danton, and that he had to justify the French Revolution somehow. So that warped his view of the thing. With Donoso Cortes, it's the same deal. He was too closely involved with the Civil War, and the fact that he and his brother were on opposite sides, tells you a lot. I think as a result, I think his comparison of Kossuth to the Carlists is ridiculous. Kossuth was a Protestant Republican and wanted Hungary to be Protestant and a republic, which was just the opposite of the Carlists. But as I say, given the fact that on everything else, like Belloc, he was great, I cut him that slack. I just ignore him where he needs to be ignored and enjoy him where he's right, which is a lot more of the time than he's wrong.
Okay. Why do you say Hilary Belloc?
Well, because that's the way he pronounced it.
Oh.
It should be Hilaire, but he lived among Anglos, and you know what they're like. They have a hard time pronouncing real language words.
That always catches me off guard because of Hillary Clinton. Like whenever you start with Hillary, I think Clinton is coming after that.
No, she's always coming, especially the way she was lurking in the Sierra Madre Pioneer Cemetery a few weeks ago was terrible.
Yes. All right.
You don't want to explore that?
Nope.
You sure?
Charles, we had an episode several weeks ago called Annoying Broads. And through that,
yes.
In that episode, we learned, and I explained quite clearly to everyone, that I don't enjoy talking about annoying broads. You might feel differently, but for me, Hillary Clinton can be put under that classification.
Okay, who would you rather date, Hillary Clinton or Barbara Streisand? Death is not an option.
That's not friendly, Charles.
All right, we'll table the matter until the next meeting of the legislature.
I would say Barbara Streisand on the basis that I believe Barbara Streisand has feelings and has emotion. Where I'm not sure if we can say that about Hillary. It's like with Hillary, I've always wondered, can she sit down and just enjoy something? You know what I mean?
Well, her husband.
Obviously, for example, Obama's got all these evil beliefs, but he also, in his way, can have fun. He likes sports. He has interests. So on some level, he's got some humanity. Whereas Hillary, it's does she sit down and actually watch movies?
No, but she does have hobbies. She likes racing.
Are you serious?
Yeah, on brooms.
Okay, all right.
What?
Very good, Charles.
And she likes dolls. She makes dolls, Sticks pins in them, but...
All right, Charles. All right, moving on.
Okay.
All right. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
You just said you wanted to talk about Hillary Clinton.
Yeah. All right, Don from Florida. Good old Don. He says he has a question, and it says, is there any connection between the fall of the kingdom of the Two Sicilies and the rise of Mafia in southern Italy?
There sure is. Basically, when the kingdom of the Two Sicilies was conquered by Garibaldi, and then the new quote-unquote Italian authorities took over, there was a lot of resistance, a lot of guerrilla warfare, a lot of so-called brigantaggio. So the new government made a deal with local criminals to help suppress the allies of the king. And that helped put the mafia, in the catbird seat in different parts of the old kingdom, in Naples and Sicily and so on.
Wow.
Well, it was funny. They were not suppressed until Mussolini came in. He suppressed them. And so then when the Allies came to Sicily, the mafia rose in support of the Allies against the fascists.
Fascinating.
It's an Italian thing.
All right.
I don't want to go into detail.
Then don't, Charles. Don't. It's okay. Be yourself.
You want me to talk about this more? I mean, the relationship of the newly nascent, or not nascent, but powerful, the newly powerful Camorra in Naples and the Mafia in Sicily. And then they came to America. And they formed self-help civic groups.
I like that. Yep. Self-help civic groups. Yep.
Yeah. Neighborhood watch, as you might say.
Yeah. All right,
they watch the neighborhood.
Very good. Another question from Don, who says...
You don't want me to go on in that area, or do you want me to move along?
No, don't trouble yourself, Charles.
All right. Just ask it.
So Don also says, Charles E. Entenmann, the last of the storied Entenmann baking family, recently died at 92.
Yeah.
I have fond memories of both of my grandmothers always having Entenmann products in their house at all times, particularly the crumb cake.
Which is good.
Growing up in New York, does Charles have any memories of Entenmann's?
I remember eating it. I remember the labels. As you say, they were kind of omnipresent. I mean, Entenmann's was a little bit like Rheingold beer. It was something that New Yorkers are very proud of.
Rheingold beer?
Yes.
Do you drink that whenever you go to New York?
No, I don't think they make it anymore. It was strictly local. Let me see. They had a wonderful ditty, Rheingold is my gold. Let me see. How did that go? Rheingold beer song. Every year they had Miss Rheingold, who was a chick that... Oh, what do you know? It's still going. Huh.
Yeah.
Rheingold, New York City beer. It's brewed today the same way it was 30 years ago.
I was going to say, that would be surprising because I know in California now there's so many microbreweries where, they're microbreweries that kind of almost function like restaurants. And so It would be surprising that such a beloved beer in New York would no longer be in existence.
Here it is. My beer is Rheingold, the dry beer. Think of Rheingold whenever you buy beer. It's not bitter. It's not sweet. It's the extra dry treat. Won't you try extra dry Rheingold beer?
Okay, there it is.
Isn't that great?
That's wonderful.
And as I say, they did away with the Miss Rheingold contest in the mid '60s, but I can tell you that I'm a firm. I'm not a beer drinker, but I certainly am willing to stand up for Rheingold beer.
All right then. Nate asks, can Charles talk about the Italo-Greek Albanian Catholic Church? Specifically about its history in the Old World and the New, as well as how many churches currently exist in this too often forgotten part of the Byzantine Rite.
He sure can.
All right. Next question from me.
All right, fine. Be that way. Well, basically, southern Italy and Sicily were heavily colonized by the Greeks before the Christian era, before the Romans, Magna Graecia. And so there have been Greek settlements down there, time out of mind. The Byzantine Empire held on to southern Italy longer than it did the rest of Italy. And the result were a number of Greek churches, dioceses, and monasteries, of which the most famous survives today, near Rome, Grottaferrata. And these are the so-called Italo-Greeks. But then, when the Ottomans seized Albania, a lot of Albanians jumped over the Adriatic to the same area. And they were Byzantine Rite as well. So you have Italo-Greeks and Italo-Albanians, but they're a single Byzantine church. They used to have a church, believe it or not, in New Orleans, Louisiana. And I was there for the Divine Liturgy one Pentecost, that was where I first discovered their custom of flowers at Pentecost. With the Slavic Byzantine churches, it's mostly green pine boughs. With the Italo-Greeks, they have lots of flowers, roses, and stuff. I presume because they're Mediterranean people, whereas the Slavic Byzantines are all up in cold places.
All right. Question from Mason again, who says, what does Charles know of Eduard the Martyr? I've always known of Edward the Confessor as a saint king of England, and I have a great level of respect for Alfred the Great, though I don't know if there is a movement to canonize him. But I had never heard of Martyr. Also, why are his remains in the church of an Orthodox breakaway group in England?
Well, the answer is that St. Edgar was a king in East Anglia.
Edgar?
Sorry, St. Edward.
Oh, okay.
My mind's going. St. Edward the Martyr was a king in East Anglia, and he died fighting the Danes. So his relics were enshrined. Then at the Reformation, the shrine was destroyed, but the relics were hidden. And they were only rediscovered about 50 years ago. I forget where they were hidden. But the fellow who discovered them was not what you would call pro-Catholic. And either he or his heirs gave them to a Russian Orthodox convent that had opened up in the area. And they've held on to them ever since. But that convent was part of what's called Rokor, the Russian Orthodox Church outside Russia. So when Rokor recognized the Patriarch of Moscow after the fall of communism, a small number of Rokorites refused to stay in Rokor because they felt that any connection with Moscow was somehow caving into communism, despite the change in government. So the convent is one of these. They're very devout nuns in an Orthodox sense, and they do take very good care of St. Edgar, St. Edward the Martyr. But they don't give Catholic pilgrims any trouble in terms of venerating him.
Okay. Fascinating. Okay, that's it for the pre-show, everyone.
All right. There's nothing else? Nothing about Rheingold beer?
No, we didn't get no Rheingold beer question this week.
Was there a question about Scrapple from Philadelphia?
Why aren't people talking about Scrapple? You've got so many people talking about so many crazy, weird foods that, what about Scrapple, huh?
Yeah,
maybe we don't have. I don't know if we have anyone from Philadelphia.
I don't know either, but I love Scrapple.
Yeah, that's made from the best stuff on earth.
It is. Yeah, right. Pig brains.
No, I'm thinking that was
Snapple.
Yeah,
Snapple.
Yeah.
Snapple. Not Scrapple.
Wow, you got offended by that. Wow, okay.
Well, I mean, the pig brains are mixed with grain are tasty, but I would hardly call it the best stuff on earth. I mean, if pig brains were really the best stuff on earth, we wouldn't stuff our politicians' heads with it, now would we?
Wow, I guess not.
Gotcha there, smart guy. What do you think the real reason President Biden is going senile is?
Well, you told us because.
His head was stuffed with pig brains.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Absolutely. It's not. Well, I thought you okay.
Well, I'm
Um.
just saying. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with having a head full of pig brains. I mean, he's president. You're not. So
All right. Well, that's just how things are for some people, Charles.
I guess
I thought you were accepting.
I am. I'm very accepting.
Good.
I am. Kamala Harris, our next president.
Okay.
Well, I mean, when Hindenburg dies, who do you think takes over? It's not nice calling him Hindenburg. Why do you do that?
Okay. All right, everyone. Stay tuned for the full episode.
You bet, and keep up the penitential garb. You're going to need it between now and Holy Saturday.